It's not going.
What happened?
There it go. I clicked on it, man. It's not even
You clicked
going.
on it and it didn't start. Let me see.
It didn't start, man.
What
A
is going
disclaimer.
on?
Oh, let's just go ahead and rock. We're live, so let's
All
just
right.
rock with it.
Are we live? Yeah, we're live.
Yeah,
I
we're
can
live.
see us. Yeah, we're live. We're just gonna go
All
ahead and get started. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, how do I do this? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
right. Shaking it off.
Just what? I feel like I was gone last week, so I'm back. Had a birthday yesterday.
And a happy
Went to,
belated birthday. I
I
was
went to
trying to
Mardi
send you.
Gras.
Oh, you did?
It was interesting.
How many bees did you get?
Oh no, I asked for them. Like I didn't have to show, but I was seeing that was pretty normal. You
Yeah.
know, it's a normal thing. Apparently, St. Louis has the second largest Mardi Gras. It was packed. It was thick. It was a lot of people, black and white. It was a lot of happy drunks, um,
Mm,
and a lot of boobs. A lot of
yeah.
boobs. A lot of pants with no panties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know why
I,
that is though. It's
I don't
just
know. I seen nipples. Both nipples was pierced. I said, "Oh, okay. This is what we're doing." Um, it was interesting. It,
why this thing keep
it's not something I would do again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to my 5-star birthday parties with my heels and my dresses and my
Ah.
bottle services and my valet parking.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't used to that. But I did look good. I was Adidas down. I fit the crowd. I just not all the way fit the crowd, but.
What's
But
the meaning
anyway,
of Mardi Gras?
huh?
Hmm?
What you say?
What was the meaning of Mardi Gras?
What is the meaning of Mardi Gras? I don't
I
know.
don't know. I just thought maybe you knew because you was, just maybe I thought you knew that song.
No, I don't.
Saba?
Saba?
Oh man, I never even thought about the meaning of Mardi Gras, although I have participated in it. But it's just for the boobs. It wasn't for anything other than back in the day.
I'm not
It
gonna lie,
wasn't.
it was a lot of wretched behavior going on. I was like, woo. I asked my sister on the way home, I was like, am I a square? She said, no, you're just bougie. I said, oh, okay.
No,
But
you have
anyway,
boundaries.
huh?
You have boundaries.
Mm.
Oh, so it's the same as Fat Tuesday, as they say.
What does that mean exactly?
Don't know. Don't know where it's the day before the start of the Catholic season. I hope that ain't true. It's a Catholic thing, so before the start of Catholic season of Lent. So that's what Fat Tuesday is, and they're saying it's the same as Mardi Gras. So and is associated with food and celebration. So let me check another source on this. Yeah,
Well,
check
go
another
ahead.
source.
We're gonna
Yeah.
go
Well,
ahead
while he's doing that, let's go ahead and get the
and get
show started.
started. This is things that people don't want to talk about, brought to you by me, God Level. Um, my name is Renee. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I am a mother. I am a nurse. I am a friend. I'm an entrepreneur. I have this podcast. I'm a cousin. I'm an aunt. I'm a friend. I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
My name is John Skywalker, the Sly Talker. I'm a lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and I'm a father who has several hip hop albums streaming or available for streaming on all major streaming platforms. If you like conscious, positive, soulful hip hop, you need to go ahead and plug in. If you love artists like Talib Kweli, Yasin Bey, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Sky Zoo, yeah, I'm your guy.
Yes.
Salute.
Salute. King Newborn, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Peace, peace, peace. This King Newborn. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Newborn Everything. And as always, I am
I
of
am
service.
of service. Saba Diamond, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Absolutely. I am Saba Diamen, Syrian by tradition, spiritual scholar, entrepreneur, and always of service, life coach, nutritional coach, counselor, just here for you, So just always putting it in. So like the rest of my beautiful people on this panel, I am of service. I say.
Yes, we are.
Oh, and this is covering my album. I'm just kidding. It's not. I was just giving John a hard time. Trying to be like John today. It's covering my album back here.
That would be a dope cover, though.
That would be.
That good.
Yeah,
I saw this. I was like, I got to have this. This is dope.
That is nice.
Yeah.
This is dope.
I just need a bigger green screen so everything can just cover. Then I can start playing with pictures behind it because I'm.
Well, I mean, now there's bigger ones too, but I just figured these were more, with the portability. You can be walking around. I see it now. And that's primarily if you could bring it close. But anyways, there's other ones out there. It's just a more elaborate setup. It's gonna be bigger, much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
it's gonna be like curtains and poles, assembly required.
And you just roll it out and roll it back.
Yeah, I mean, take that down, collapse.
Roll it. No, just roll it out and roll it back. Because I have a walk-in closet, so I can just roll it in there.
But of course.
All right, that's an investment. Okay.
Yes.
You know what? Forget y'all. In celebration of Black History Month, I was attempting to post a different Black business every day. I think I got up to like 11, maybe 10 or 11, and then I didn't have any more to post. And I was literally begging people, send me your business so I can post it. Again, we are definitely going to continue to do that. If you have a Black business out there that you would like free promotion, send it to us. We will be happy to put it on our website. If you want to come on to the show and talk about your business, you are more than welcome to do so. We, like my brother said, we are of service for our community. And also in celebration of Black History Month, we are making every podcast for the month of February all about Black history. We have given the show over to, I do want to call him Dr. Salah.
I get all kinds of names.
Dr. Diamond, Salah Diamond. He has given us a wonderful outline for Black history, and tonight we are talking about the journey through the bowels of the MAAFA, the Black Holocaust.
Yeah, MAAFA. Yeah,
MAAFA. I didn't say it right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's going to break all of that down for us, and I'm going to sit back and get educated.
Yeah, well, we're gonna. Before I do, I'm up here. I just found out something I didn't know about regarding Mardi Gras.
What's that?
As much as we do, it's a Catholic. It's a French Catholic celebration. This is why you listen. You have to be careful what it is you participate in.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're participating in your own demise. What? And I'm saying this because this is Catholicism, and it's most of us, and it's the French who also heads up a lot of the oppression that we experience here. So you have to understand that this Mardi Gras also is a spiritual and metaphysical arm of their agenda. So are we participating in our own spiritual demise? So I'm just saying, just because I never heard anybody say or mention that this is in line with Fat Tuesday, which is the Tuesday before Lent, and going into Lent. That is Lent is the Catholic celebration or fasting and all that kind of stuff. The period that they do that with, but this is so when they talk about, and I think this is why we see a lot of the stuff that we see as far as nudity and the flashing and all that kind of stuff and what that symbolizes, because right before they get right or spiritual, they have a night of lawlessness. And I remember that they in the Bible they talk about that the pagan stuff, what they claim was the pagan stuff, but they exaggerated it. So did Constantine in the Council of Nicaea, where he was trying to sell the idea of Christianity by saying that these other traditions were about lawlessness, and they were rape and commit homosexual acts and all this other kind of stuff in murder in a night of lawlessness. And so he was like, let's get rid of that. But don't know how much of that was true. I can't find anywhere historically. I do find though where there was a celebration of unlimited expression, but there was nobody violating anybody else. It could have been some sexual stuff going on or whatever, but there was nobody, no raping or nothing like that. Couldn't see that incest and all that kind of stuff that they was claiming. What did you say, brother King?
I was just saying there was a lot of everything.
Mm-hmm. A lot of everything. Yeah.
Sex, same everything.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't realize that Mardi Gras. I knew, what? I knew it had something to do with the French, being that it was Creole, but I didn't know it was a Catholic. I didn't know it was Catholicism. So yeah, so you gotta watch out for that.
Again, hey, good folks. Hey, I will not be attending next year. It was just not my cup of tea.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's mind blown. Mind blown.
Yeah, that's the purpose of the mask, so you can hide behind
Who
the
is
mask.
speaking?
So,
Let me find out who that is. Hey, Dre, how you doing, sir? And you've been in the gym working now, brother. Go, baby.
Dre getting it in, huh?
Yeah, consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to C word again. They're going to C word again.
Yes. So as you said, we are, first of all, I want to give a shout out to everybody in our group on Facebook, things that people don't want to talk about. And thank y'all for showing up. We'll be over 500, right at 500.
Yes, we're over 500.
We're over 500.
Yes.
is that better?
Yeah, it's good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was loose.
Okay. So yeah, I want to give a shout out to everybody there, everybody who's supporting us also on YouTube, and all of our individual pages and everything. So you guys have really been showing up. We know that, over these last couple of weeks, we've had many distractions here, in the month that they allow to be what they call Black History Month. It's funny how we get Grammys and we get Super Bowl. We got all this stuff going on in that particular, in the same month. Yep. So we can't really have a flow of paying attention to Black history like we could. So, and because of that, of course, during our live times, we've had, low numbers because everybody was out doing the other stuff. But we're glad to see you guys back. And yeah, so yeah, let's just try to keep our heads, in the forward movement instead of, finding these ways to lend ourselves to distraction and things like that. So, but I hope y'all had fun. I didn't see any of it. Didn't see the Super Bowl. Didn't see no.
I heard about it.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I didn't even know who was playing until the day of.
Yeah.
It was the Kansas City Chiefs and
the blue team, Chiefs? No.
Eagles. Is it the Eagles?
Eagles. Was it
Eagles? Yeah.
Oh,
we should have skipped over that part. I don't even I would feel a little bit ashamed of that.
Why?
I should know. The
you should know.
I should know. But
that's your team.
I should at least know. No, no, I don't have a team, but I should at least know. John, you don't even know. No, you're a god.
You know what?
That's
And
funny.
after being with my husband, I thought that all men like took pride in sports and having their favorite team, their favorite player. And I've actually
Mm,
met men who don't even watch it. And I thought they were weird.
no. And you know, it's so funny because as an athletic trainer, and I've trained, these pros. I've trained them on football, basketball, volleyball, soccer. I've had a lot of professional athletes under my belt, but yet I'm still not a sports fanatic. Still not a sports fanatic. You know,
Really?
yeah.
I would
Hmm.
watch with Derek. After a while, I just would watch with him. I would cook chicken. I would make salad. I would go get the beer. We would have a big to do. I could do one good game. Then after that, I was done.
He was done.
I was
Yeah.
done. Yeah, I would watch. And then after we broke up, I noticed I didn't watch anymore.
Yeah. I remember there was this one year. Of course, it was a time when the Cowboys. I do have a couple of teams that I like though. The Cowboys, and I know there's a bunch of haters out there with that, but that's cool. I'm not that type of fan. But the Cowboys, and also I had come to like Green Bay when I stayed in Wisconsin. But I do remember when I really got into it was one of the years that the Cowboys was going to they did that three-peat. Well, I was in college at the time, but also the chicken wing was only 15 cents a wing. They had these sales. And so I think that's what I really was.
Wait a minute.
Oh man.
I
The
think that was
chicken wings ain't 15 cents no more.
it was the chicken wings. That's what got me hooked. Because then it became this nostalgia thing, chicken wings and football. So in a glass of root beer.
No, I
So
have to
yeah,
have Killian's.
Killian's.
Killian's red. Oof.
Is that beer?
Yes.
What is that? No,
It's red.
mine was root beer. Root beer, not that hard stuff, grain stuff. Mine
Dre
was
said if
root
we ever
beer.
want to do a sports segment, he got us. Yeah, do
Excellent.
it. Do it. Do it. I would love to hear y'all thoughts on it, Do it. We could
On the
bring
sports
Dre on
section.
as a guest.
We'll see. I wouldn't have much input on there, but okay. Now, unless we want to talk about the conditioning of the athletes,
Mm,
then we could talk about that.
yeah.
But okay. All right. So yeah. So anyway, in consistent keeping with our uh segments and our theme for Black History Month, um, we're talking about going through the bowels of the MAAFA. MAAFA is a word that we use for um it's not just a transatlantic slave trade, because not a lot of times when people think about it is they think about from Africa to the Americas. But the actual first slaves were from Europe, you
Mm,
know, not necessarily from Africa. Maybe, from they went from Africa to Europe, but then they got, sold as slaves from Europe, you know, um, going, coming from Africa to Europe, but then soon that became one of the routes because we're talking about many different routes to where what we call the diaspora. So all
mhm.
these places where these African slaves have been transported and also put to work in what they call the New World. What they call they titled it and they named it the New World, which is what we call the Western world. So it became the New World, but look how that whole New World was built off the backs of African slaves. You know, um, so when we look at that, this is literally the deadliest transport of any type of human beings in the history of mankind. And I'm saying that for a reason because there is no incident where more humans have died. And I'm saying humans like all together. So, and these that have died, where these were black folks, and we're talking about millions that had lost their lives, in transport, just getting there, lost their lives, and through it all, lost their lives. We're talking about millions, you know, and yet the world still ceased to see it as a something comparable to what they call the Jewish Holocaust. But somehow the Jewish Holocaust has jumped out and got in front of that. So why is that? Again, that could be another plight of white. I'm just saying. Um, but the thing about it is, if you take the light off of something, then it dies. Really, it dies. So you can actually be looking at slaves, and since there's no light on how they became slaves, people just look at them for as they are. You don't even understand. And then if the light that is shining on them paints them as livestock, as equal to only livestock, then this is how you're going to treat them as well. And this is pretty much how they were seen, not just here in America, but also throughout the diaspora. So y'all remember the movie The Woman King, that was based on the Dahomey tribe, and it was focused on the Agoji warriors, the female unit of the Agoji warriors. The Agoji warriors actually were a mixture of men and women, but the movie just highlighted the woman side. But if you remember the movie, you saw men and women there, but it was like the light was just on the women though, but the men were always there as well, fighting alongside them. But the thing about it is, the reason why I'm bringing them up is because if we look at what was going on at that time, and this is still years, hundreds of years after the slave trade had begun, and the Dahomey were still enslaving other Africans. Okay, they were enslaving other. They weren't the only ones. There, even some of their competitors were also enslaving other Africans. So, and it's because, and this is the thing, the culprit behind slavery was the monetary system. It was colonization that became the catalyst for slave trade and for enslaving others. As we saw there, that the king, so King Gezo of the Dahomey tribe, was uh, he was doing it. Number one, he was conquering other areas, okay, other nations. So he was successful in that because of the strategic way that the army or his military was ran, but also uh, trying to expand his territory and increase the economic status of the tribe as well. And in doing that, they also had crops and things like that they had to, cultivate, sell on the market and things like that. And they were, so this is why they had the slaves to do all that work as well. And if you remember, what one of the warriors in the movie was trying to tell the king is, we can actually sell palm wine. We can sell palm wine in order to make them. We don't have to have slaves. We need to end the slave trade and blah blah blah. Now get this: Britain ended their slave trade before the Africans ended theirs. Did you know that? That it was Britain that actually was not just frowning upon, but actually admonishing the Dahomey and other African nations to end their slave trade. And they was telling them how good it wasn't. It's not good. It's not humane. Britain was saying that to, like, stop doing that. Stop doing your people like that. See, so I'm just saying, look at that. Look at the mentality, and I think that this is just kind of like what we have to deal with here. Number one, that we're not innocent when it comes to how this thing came about. Because if we look at the position or the role of the Moors for for bringing about or making a lot of the Mandingo tribe and their warriors slaves as well. You know what they did and why they did it. You know why they did it because of their position with Spain that they were actually losing ground with Spain that they were trying to regain, and so they're the ones who brought those Europeans in and say, look, we'll give you this and we'll tell you how to get this, how and we'll tell you the routes here, but you've got to give us this. The Moors are black folks. In fact, that's what Moor means. Okay, means black. So the thing is that they were selling out our people at that time, and the Moors were some of the most scientifically advanced groups of people at that time.
And they were black.
They were. Mm-hmm,
Go ahead, I'm listening.
mm-hmm. And and the thing is that but this is what they did. In fact, they were responsible for Spain having any type of infrastructure.
They went over and civilized them. Yes.
Absolutely.
Taught them how to take baths.
Everything. Gave them all kind of knowledge, scientific knowledge, and everything else. The Moors did that, and so so things turned political. They didn't just happen at this time, though. Things went from spiritual to political long before that. We're talking about thousands of years before that, and we saw that at the breakdown through the dynastic period. We could saw how things started to go political rather than spiritual. You know, so it went from obeying or going by and being governed by the laws of nature to the laws of politics, laws that actually govern society and so forth. And it started to get so even the priests at that time became corrupt, you know. And so you had a lot of their so we had these things that they call sabbats. That's the Kemetic name for it. But the not the German, but the Greek name was called nomes. Y'all heard of nomes? So in each nome was like a city state, and in each city state was a specific deity, which we call the Neteru, that was actually over that particular. So it was governed by the energy of that particular deity. Okay, and that's whether you was Kanun, whether it was Nit, whether it was Jehudi, whoever, right? And it was a lot of them. The thing about it is that, and at one point they understood that all these deities were aspects of one being, but at some point though, they started to say, well, my deity is better than your deity. No, mine. And so they started bickering and warring over those kind of things. You see, and so things started to fall apart. Then you got a bunch of discord coming into the continent and among those city states, and then we kept falling into what they called intermediate periods, where there was times where Ma'at was not prevalent, but there was a lot of disorder, and then we lost our footing, and then we lost our connection with nature because of it. Okay, so we have to understand that there was always an ontological relationship between the words that we say, the things that we do, and the effect that we get from nature, from our physical world. There's an intimate relationship there. It still is today.
It is.
It still is. You know. So can you imagine if we're hurling negative stuff towards other people, and those people, whether we know it or not, they're aspects of ourselves. So what we say and do to other people, we're also saying and doing to ourselves. So this is where all that falls into line. So what we are today it was just inevitable because of what was happening back then. It was inevitable. You know, it like I say, it didn't start when that first ship showed up on the shores of Africa. It didn't start then. It started way before. That was an effect. You see, that was an effect. And now when the ships start showing up on the shores of Africa, then from that effect became a cause of what follows. You see? And so, of course, you have all the slaves went through what they call the point or the door of no return, you know, and then where they would walk through that door and never come back, you know, and then that's when they got on the ships and they would disperse them out. So, of course, along the way, you had places like where we're so here in South America, you know, Brazil. You had things, you know, you familiar with the martial art capoeira?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of people say that that's a Brazilian martial arts. It's not Brazilian. It's African. It was African slaves that had to come up with it while they were captives in Brazil. But it was completely African, you know. And they made this martial art and trained each other how to fight on point while they were enslaved, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But of course, they made it look like they were dancing. So this is the part of the capoeira they call the jinga, so that if the master of any kind of overseers came back to see them practicing, it looked like they were dancing. And
Yes.
they
Yeah.
and they had the bow and the drum and all that kind of stuff going
Mhm.
along with it. You know, doom, doom, doom,
Yeah.
doom, 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 doom,
Yeah.
doom, doom. You know, this is what they were doing, and they were going by that rhythm. But it became one of the deadliest martial arts known till today. In fact,
Mhm.
the capoeira kick is the most powerful kick in all of martial arts today.
Wow.
It's and it's pound for pound. They measured it. They measured it against all other like taekwondo master, karate master, and so forth. But the capoeira kick had the most powerful kick, you know, of all. So it was so deadly that there in Brazil, they were that form of fighting was outlawed because they successfully, these slaves, with they end up calling themselves the capoeiristas. They successfully overthrew the military with no weapons. With no
They were the
weapons,
weapon. They
they
were
were
Right.
the
the
weapon,
weapon. Yeah, yeah. They were the weapon. Woo!
and they brought fear into the hearts of that area. They had to call in reinforcements to try to get everything back under control. And they said, if you look like you are studying this, it was the sentence was death immediately. You were killed immediately if you even looked like you were. So they still practiced, but it was underground. They made sure that nobody saw them. So, but of course they had to be, because their numbers had dwindled. So they want to make sure that they wait until they could regroup in enough of a force, enough of a presence to overtake their captors again. You know, but yeah, but it's right today. It's the martial arts also that's responsible for breakdancing and things like that. So you will see those same moves used. And I see a lot of people who today who they would say, well, you can't really use those moves in fighting, in real fighting. They did. They did. Standing on their hands, kicking, spinning around, doing flares, and all. They actually used it in real fighting circumstances against people with weapons. So yes, they did. Okay. So just understand that this is some of the triumphs that we would have just as an answer to this type of thing. But then we look at also in other parts, um, like in the Latin, a lot of the Latin areas, you know, which we were also shipped to, and
Mhm.
um, uh, and also, so that's why you have a large group of black folks today who are very fluent in Spanish. Okay, from Puerto Ricans, you got Haitians who actually speaks French.
Yep.
You got um, you know who is it? Puerto Rico. You got uh, Cubans who speak Spanish as well. In other words, you could see us how we spread, and I'm talking about the people, the ones, those of
Yeah.
us from Africa did spread all over the world. That's not to say that you didn't already have black folks in other parts of the world. We were already here in the Americas even before the
Absolutely.
slave trade.
Say it
You
again.
know, we were already here.
Yes.
Okay, we were. There was a tribe called the folk tribe, who were also nomadic. They moved, you know, from north to south and things according to the climate. They're very nomadic, but they were also a black tribe. They were black folks, not redskin Indians, you know, like they say. They were not a part of the
Mm.
Redskins. these were black folks. These were African uh, people, and this is way before Columbus had showed up. You see, so
Okay.
yeah, so that's what we're looking at. So this whole thing, the Ma'afa was not a this Holocaust was not a paradise by any means. It was not an easy journey. You know, you can look at movies like Amistad
Mm-hmm.
and especially that movie. That movie really can really highlight just the torment that they went through.
Yeah.
How a lot of them not just jumped over ship, but they were also thrown over ship to lighten the load. Because if they got to the next dock and they had more than what their roster said, they threw babies over, new, from the pregnant females that they had stolen and that they gave birth on the ships. They threw babies over. They threw a lot of the mothers probably jumped over with their babies.
Yeah.
Um,
I seen that.
yeah, and a lot of them were shot in the head, execution style. So it was a lot of things that went on, um, and all because and this is it had nothing to do with race as much as it did with economics of what they call the New World. But what it is, they chose the most spiritual people to subjugate. Okay, the most spiritual people to subjugate, because these people were already in commune and they were communing with nature. They were already pretty much free and open so it was easier to overcome that people because they didn't have like weaponized militaries and things like that. Not as far as guns and things. That stuff, that's a European construct.
Mm-hmm.
Guns and stuff like that. So that's what made them dominant. So when they start making guns and using gunpowder, and then they became a real threat to the rest of the world at that time. Nobody would question them, of course, because you didn't want to get shot. You didn't want to have to deal with that powerful weapon that they had. You know, so that's what made them. And it wasn't because of their physical prowess, because they couldn't. We know they couldn't hang then, right? um, even the
Mhm.
yeah. So the thing is that they were just the easiest people to overcome. They were easy to manipulate at the time because they were so trusting. And
Mm-hmm.
again, when we look at a lot of these African nations at the time, in fact, they weren't even called nations. They were just called Africa because we had no borders or anything. But these African, uh, you know, they didn't even call each other's tribes. So we'd just say villages for short, and groups. But a lot of times you will find that they had one word for God and man, and these are the ones who were not Christian, because Christianity and Islam became big. They became the dominant religions there, forced upon them, of course,
Mm-hmm.
in Africa. So even right now, most of them are Islamic and Christian. You know,
Islamic
Yep.
North and the Christian South. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you have to really go and search for any traditional African spiritual uh, methods there. So you still have the Akans, you have the Dogons, and so forth that are still there. And there are some others that if you go to Ghana, you'll run across some other ones. And we still have
Yeah.
the
Yoruba.
Yoruba,
Yeah.
yeah, the Yoruba, and you have you have a lot of them that's still
Ifa.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the E5, which is still
Mm-hmm.
Yoruba. Yeah, that's the
Um,
Yoruba people. Hmm.
Masai. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Masai.
but small, very small pockets.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very.
very
Yeah.
small pockets. It's not as widespread, you know. And so you would have to travel. And when you go to them, you have to go to the bush, what they call the bush, away from the cities. Into the bush. So that's what you have to go. They still not wearing shoes, and you know. So yeah, so that's where that is. But you will see that they only have one, the Bantu, of course. One word for God and the same word for man.
Mm,
This is how they saw each other. They saw each other no less than the creator.
thank you.
No less than the creator. You know, so when you can you imagine having that mindset, and so that when you see anybody else, you give them the same respect and trust and reverence as you would as if they were the creator. You see, so that means your defenses are down. You know, because you trust them. But as we know, that evil only comes through mankind in this world, and so where there is good, there's an equal amount of bad. You know, there's an equal amount of evil, and we just now we can clearly see, tracing back through history, who are the bringers of that. Okay, we can clearly see that, and they even admit that themselves. You know, they admit that themselves, and then and for them not to have any type when they see these kind of things, like we've seen um pictures post slavery, which is when racism came about. Racism existed and it came post slavery, right?
Yeah.
And we see that how they came, you know, how they would come out all in droves with their children and dogs just to lynch a man, a black man, with smiles on their face. For
Mm-hmm.
some reason, that wasn't a traumatic experience to the children. Why not?
Mm.
Why
Right.
why 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 is a killer clown worse than
Wow.
seeing
Wow.
Mm,
He said, "Why is a killer
mm.
clown?" Dang.
worse than seeing
Crazy.
a black man lynched in person?
Crazy.
Why is that?
Right.
But but what type of mindset and what type of people view
Yeah.
the world like that? You know what I'm saying? So and again, not it's not just to say that and now you say, well, it's not your neighbor. No, these were the neighbors. These were the neighbors. Of course, but it's all at its backdrop. There's a racist system also that's also getting in the minds of those your white neighbors and telling them that this is the way they should see you. Okay, this is the way they should see you. They should see you as no more than livestock, you know, who don't deserve to eat at the same table with you and so forth. And then we because we go back to Rwanda just back in the 1990s, you know, how the Tutsi were treated. They were it was simply a message that came over the radio that was broadcast that started saying the Tutsi are cockroaches, they're filthy and blah blah. Then everybody started killing the Tutsis, you know. So and these were Africans against Africans, you know. Then they start massacring the Tutsis in Rwanda
Yeah, a lot
just
of people.
because, and nobody ever questioned why are we killing the Tutsi. They just heard on the radio that they was bad, and all it was is it was again somebody wanted that space, almost like how Russia wants the space of the Ukraine. You know, it's just like that. So when we think of these things, look at what's happening. We are trying to gain things at the expense of other people's lives. That is not divine. That is outside of
Mm,
our nature's period. You know, it's outside of our nature. So so the thing is that one thing that is so important that we got to realize too is that the even for people to show up at your shore and to to steal another human being, put them in chains, take them to a foreign land away from their lifestyle, away from their spiritual systems, take
Mm.
their names, change their names, and try to strip them of their identity.
That part.
You have to understand what amount of
yeah.
inhumane desecration that is, you
Yeah.
know. So even the ones that survived, meaning that they didn't get killed, but there was still a longer death for them. It was a lot more torture for them because even those at the beginning that had to endure the ones who were trading them, you know, trading, who was selling, you know, they had to get like slathered up with some kind of grease so they can look like. And remember, these were some of the best out of Africa. These were some of the warriors. These were some of the strongest, the smartest, those who were initiated through rites of passage. So it's no wonder why they came and built such a great nation. You know, they talking about this is the greatest nation on the planet. Well, do you know why? Because it was built by the greatest people on the planet.
Us.
That's why.
Amina.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely,
Oh yeah.
Amina. Absolutely. And when they take these things away from you and they try to replace it with something else, this is people on. It's not money that's your best commodity.
Right.
It's not anything material.
Right.
Mm.
Say it.
It's the
Yeah.
contents of your mind.
Yeah.
When I tell you that has everything to do
Yeah.
with how your life is, the contents of your mind. So when somebody takes that and they insert what they want, they're literally using you to create their reality. That's when you become a slave. So even these days, many people are still slaves because they're buying into this celebrity materialism. I mean, wait, let me ask y'all a question.
Mm.
Is this a real thing? Those little red rubber boots that I see, that's
Oh
are
my
they
gosh.
is that a real thing? Because I'm not sure if that's a meme or if it's
That's
something that's really for
it's
sale.
real. It's
No,
yeah,
don't tell me that's real, man.
yeah,
Don't tell me that's real.
The
it's
red,
yeah,
the
yeah,
red
it's
rubber.
developing. Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen them. Yeah.
They look like they
Think
belong on a Lego man or something like that. They
yeah.
don't even.
Think Kanye's boots, but red and more less
Those.
defined.
Are
Wait a
you
minute.
serious?
Okay. Okay.
Lil
So that's.
Wayne, he wore them too. Lil
I
Wayne,
was
he
just
wore
I
'em.
was just hoping that I couldn't make this point. This point is that when you have such a mindset to where those things become a hot commodity and you spend a lot of money on those kind of somebody got you. So they could put a turd for sale and you will go pay $10,000 for somebody's turd.
This boot is costing $1,500.
So it is real. I never checked it out if it was
Fifteen
real or
hundred
not.
dollars. This red boot is $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
So you know why the imagination is one of our most important faculties. You see, that's where we lay out the blueprint for our lives. Is in our imagination.
Mhm.
We design how we want our lives to be in our imagination. When other people feed you images and words, and when they dictate the contents of your intellect and things like that, they're literally forming pictures and stories and narrative for you and giving you an already made narrative for your life. And it may not fit your life because even with that narrative, you may not be able to have the resources to sustain such a narrative. They never give you the resources to sustain such a narrative, but they tell you to go get it. They tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You
Mm,
see, but at the same time, they're denying you any resources to do so.
yeah.
But see, this is part of slavery. Now, why is it we have such a hard time gaining reparations these days? What is that about?
S- I
Hmm?
had a friend tell me that they only give reparations to people who are not from here.
Okay, and what we mean by not from here
Uh,
are those who came over. If you are a
Well, we
descendant
was
of a
already
slave.
here.
No, not all of us. Not all of
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
You know, some of us were here already. But see,
Yes.
those, they never became slaves. They were not slaves. You see, the ones who came over on the ships, those are the ones who came, whose name was on rosters, on these, what they call them, the manifests, of the ship. Those are the ones that became slaves. And the other ones got papers saying that they were free men. You see, they got
Mm,
papers saying that, so you had to carry, if you were black, you had to carry on this paper proving that you were a free man. And if you were not, that means your name was on somebody's manifest and you're somebody's property. You see? And look at how many years that we went through that being somebody's property, and building a network for other people that we still today don't get to participate in at all. Other people now, if you, now let's just say if somebody came and kidnapped you, God level, today,
Mhm.
and they kept you for, let's say, 4 years, and they held you, made you enslaved and all this kind of stuff. Let's just say if somebody that was rich, somebody crazy with, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump did that. He came and kidnapped you and kept you as a slave for 4 years against your will, just for 4 years.
Mhm.
Do you know that you can turn around and every court would agree that whatever, not just wages that you lost in that four
Mhm.
years, but every bit of work that you did for Donald Trump in those 4 years, pain and suffering for those 4 years, and all that, you would be compensated for all those things.
They're not
As
going to.
and on top of that, he would go to prison. Do you know
There,
that's what would happen?
that will be the right thing to do. But we're talking about a whole government system, or
Well,
a system that's already against us. Why would they pay us? Why would
well,
they
well,
give us
well,
anything?
because these days it's the law
They,
now. But
they
but here's
made
here's the
the
thing.
law. They
Of course,
created the law. They wrote the law for the law to benefit them. They're not going to put anything in there to benefit us.
of course not. So that's my point, though. That's exactly my
Mhm.
point.
So
What
why are we
happened? What
even? So the point I'm trying to make is, why are we even wasting our time asking for anything when we can get together ourselves? We
I
all been
agree.
fighting for a seat at their table for what?
Hmm. Understood. And I'm not saying we should keep
We are
asking.
smart, intelligent,
Hmm.
baby. This world don't move without our say so.
And if we built it, we
Business,
can build another one, right?
businesses don't grow without that black dollar. Come on
Hmm.
now. We
Now,
have to
here's the
fight
thing.
for it. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. This is my only point, is that how they are afraid to admit, because what happened when they made marijuana legal and they took all those statutes off marijuana, they
Hmm.
start letting the people who had been convicted a long time ago on marijuana, they start letting them out of jail.
They have no other choice. Now,
Okay, but
now they're
listen to what I'm
selling something
saying.
that can actually benefit them. They wasn't able to benefit off of it back then. Now they're benefiting
But
from it.
listen to what I'm saying, though.
Go
Don't miss
ahead.
the point. The
Okay.
point here, the point here is that when they changed the law, so when they said that slavery was no longer a thing, and when they made
Yeah.
it to where if you had enslaved anybody, and then you would owe them this, you would owe them things. Why aren't they automatically issuing out reparations then? Because that should have been some, when they changed that law, just like they changed the marijuana law and let people out, start giving them restitution. Why aren't we getting restitution as descendants of our slave predecessors? Why is it that? Because it means that they will admit to themselves and to the world
That they were
that
wrong.
yeah. And right now they say that verbally, but that's as far as
Mhm.
they want to go.
That's
They
it.
they they trying to scapegoat it, right?
Hmm.
So the thing about it is that um not only did our ancestors suffer physically, mentally, and
Hmm.
emotionally,
Oh,
but
definitely.
even today we are still economically suffering
Yeah.
because we cannot get along in a system that every time we do step our game up, that they make another law.
Or another rule.
You see what I'm saying? Let us get
Yep.
above that line. They're gonna create a law to put that line back over us. You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? That's what they do every single time. So you got, and then now with this new AI thing coming, y'all better watch out. Okay, y'all better watch out because AI is a whole nother thing. And if you plan on keep subscribing to this economic society, if you still, then that's what you need to get with, because other than that, that's going to really separate the haves from the have-nots. There's going to, you talking about
Yeah.
something that's going to
It
totally
really is.
eliminate the middle class. This is it. This is it. Okay. So trust me, that this is just another level of that same scheme. It's
Mhm.
another level. Okay. And if whatever you have not attained now, and all I can tell you is that individually, we cannot sustain what's to come as
Mm.
individuals.
Mm,
We won't be able to sustain it. If we don't learn to come together, if we don't come together and support each other in a community type of fashion, we ain't gonna
absolutely.
make it as individuals. We simply won't. You know, just mark my word. Mark my
Mm.
word. You know. So so anyway, I'm stopped there for some questions and comments. Anything I want to say about that? I try to keep these things light because I recognize I'm still.
No, we know. I don't need you to keep it light. I need you to keep it all the way real and raw.
It's still really raw.
I'm just
I
all the
just don't
way
want to
real and
go.
raw.
I want to go
Because the way they
too
treated
deep.
us,
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a law on the books. I don't know. It's either South Carolina, North Carolina, or Virginia, where if
Mm-hmm.
a white woman was happened to beat a black child to death, she could get off. Somehow this law was passed. It was hysteria. Um, Come to find out, when they were over there, I'm trying to explain this correctly. The men was sleeping with the women and they were having their babies. And when the wives found out, the wives would go crazy and beat the children to death.
Mm.
So they created a law to keep these women out of jail.
Mm.
Not about let's not talk. Let's not forget the stories about using black babies as alligator bait.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of slaves didn't want to eat, but they were force fed. They literally attempted to beat the spirit up out of us, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know how some of us can still take what they told us to believe in and fight over it.
Livelihood.
They took away everything: my name,
Mm.
my culture, and and then when you sit back and you think about it, they had to kill off all the parents and raise these children to believe that their history, all they are, is nothing but a slave. And they even put it in the books over here. They don't want to teach us in early childhood about our history
Mm-hmm.
or what
Mm-hmm.
we was responsible for, having the first university, the first surgical tools. They don't want us to know that we are responsible for having the first civilization, the most powerful one ever. How we, like you just said, was in peace with everything around us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want us to know that. They don't
Of
want
course
us
not.
to know how powerful we are. In their eyes, our history started on a boat,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they want to keep it. If you
Well,
want to learn
unless.
anything about African American history, you're going to have to make it to college to take
Mm-hmm.
an African American history course. But to put something like that in a book for a young black girl and a young black boy to actually give them um, hope, encouragement, like, I'm not just a slave. That's not my history. My history don't start 3, 4, 500 years ago. My history goes back 1,000 years, thousands on top of thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather tell you that the aliens created the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you serious? That's how far you're willing to go than to give us the credit that's due.
Well, that's
Hmm.
why we have to it's important that we begin to
To educate our
write
children.
to write our own narrative and to tell our own
Mhm.
story. Because the thing is, we know now. We know. In fact,
We
people on the continent of Africa is depending on what we know here in America, blacks in America. We know more about that history than they do.
Yeah, that part.
mm,
That
Hmm.
part.
Because of the scholarship, the scholastic work that we put in
Yep.
here.
Yes, that part.
Hmm. So, and I know because I got, even in my class, I got some students who are still on the continent and just fascinated with their own history. Very fascinated with their own history. You know, so that's the thing, is that we have to understand. And unless they're talking about the boat of Ra, I would know our history does not start on the boat, only on the boat of Ra, but not on the what's that, the Saint Jesus, what was that thing on boat called, something of Jesus.
Oh,
Not on that one,
not on
you
that
know.
one. Brother, you've been quiet all evening.
What's on your mind over the king?
Just listening.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, don't get King knows some things,
He do.
a
Of course
lot
he
of
does.
things. And can go deep, deep,
Oh,
deep.
yes, he can. He holding back tonight. I don't know why, but you know.
It's all peace.
No,
I'm enjoying the conversation.
yes.
But to that point that you have made, God level,
Go ahead.
about them not wanting to teach our history, that was one of our questions last week that I put out to our group, right?
Yeah.
And I revisit this question quite frequently, at least within the past 5-6 years, really just contemplating it and just listening to us chant this concern, this complaint. And even though it's legitimate, it also seems kind of controversial, because if there was a reality where there are, and these people do exist, but there are professors and teachers out there that are legitimately interested in propagating Black history, right? And it's deserved integrity. You have some out there, but would we actually be receptive to it? Because I know we want to see us doing it, right? But we also say in the same breath, oh, but they're not going to do it. Okay, but if they did, would we have something else to say about that? I just wonder about that sometimes. Because, hey, the information could be legitimate. You may not like who it comes from, but the information could be legitimate, right? Another example of someone who's now they're not necessarily promoting Black history, but we talked about I believe we talked about this, or maybe I was in another conversation, but Jane Elliott, right? She's an activist and very prominent or very noteworthy for the race experiment,
Oh, yes.
right, the color.
Yes.
I love listening to her lectures, and I love her conviction. I think that's what it is the most about her, is it's her conviction, how she's just so tenacious and courageous, and just, hey, this got to get done, right? But imagine her teaching you Black history when you were, I don't know, 12. Would that be acceptable if you come home and your child tells you about, something that they learned? It might have been about Nina Simone. It might have been about Nat Turner. It might have been about Marcus Garvey. And then you meet the teacher, and it is Jane.
And like, wow.
Like, how would you really?
It'll throw you
It
off.
makes me wonder about that sometimes. Like, do we really want that? Because we're saying it now because it's not available, or at least it's not widespread. But if that were the case, wouldn't it lead to another complaint that, well, we should be doing it? We should be doing that. Why are they teaching you this? But it's accurate information. But why are they teaching you? It makes me wonder about that sometimes. Well, is it really about the information, or is it about who is teaching the information? Or maybe it's a combination of both.
I would say both. I would definitely say both, because I think it does matter who's telling it. Now it's okay for them to teach them their own about this. Like, you get people like what's that white lady name that goes around, and she be reaming them other white folks a new butthole, and she'd be like, what's her name? Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. But like, people like her to speak to her own people, so that's how they get it. But like, just think, what if we said the things that she's saying to her people? What if we said that? They just take it like, oh, y'all are just complaining. Oh, and they have all kind of comebacks. So it does matter who is saying it. It does matter. You see, and so for our people and our especially our children, it matters that the narrative comes from us.
Yeah.
It matters that the narrative comes from us. So this is why it's important that we get that narrative and we package it up in some sort of an educational uh, format and teach our children. So we got to start taking those steps, just like how they've taken like our kids at a certain age is Disney kids, they're Sesame Street kids, then they're Disney kids, then they're then it goes on, it follows them as they age. Well, we got to have information that do the same thing. So because that's how they get our kids. That's how they get. And then we look at those avenues. That means they've been hooking our kids from the get-go. And we know Disney is responsible for a lot of pedophilia and all kind of stuff like that. So they've been trying to entrap the kids and condition the kids all, ever since we were little. So we know that with subliminal messaging and things like that. So we know that. So it matters that we are the ones to tell them, because we will tell from a standpoint of compassion, love, and everything else about our children. We're not going to let them fall, and we're going to mean well by them, where other people just look like they mean well, and they put up that's a beautiful smoke screen, because we all love Disney. That's a beautiful smoke screen, though, but we know ain't nothing at the behind the scenes. There's something else going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So does this also imply that other races, other ethnic groups should be the gatekeepers of how their history is told? So let's just say, for example, we know that there's a Jewish history out there. We know that there's a Chinese and Thai history out there. We know that there's Cuban history, Latino history, all these different histories. So we're in the United States public school system, right? So do we say to the masses that, all right, we have these quotas to fill in the public education system in terms of history? Every cultural group needs to be responsible for their own history. Is that the approach that we are imagining here? Is that every culture?
I would say it have to be, because if we rely on the American educational system institution. So when you get a job, what's the first thing that they send you through orientation? What do you learn through what's the first thing you learn through orientation? The history of the company,
Yeah.
right? And why do you learn the history of the company first? Does it not root you in the cause, the mission and purpose of that company by knowing its history? And now you become a product of the history. You become that. And now you become a part of that. And now you start operating as an employee according to the history, right? So
And the
think
mission
about
statement.
this. So think about this. In America, our educational institutions is about the history of America. But look at the first thing they try to tell you. They try to tell you about George Washington is the first president of the United States. That's not true. But this is what they teach you, right? The first president of this country was black. We know that. All right. He was black, but they're not telling you about this. So George Washington, the first president, then they talk about, they say Abe Lincoln freed the slaves as if he's a hero, but we know that there was political reasons, but they also do not tell you that a week later, that 40 acres and a mule that they had gave you, they took it back. They took it back a week later. You see what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that they don't tell. So all they're trying to do is really make you perfect American citizens with their educational system, because all they really do is teach you how to grow up and get a job. Our educational systems does not tell you how to become entrepreneurs.
No,
it does not give you financial literacy. It does not do anything for your moral code at all. It does nothing. It doesn't tell you how to be good to one another. That's not the education that it brings. It's making you workhorses in this society, because it's still that elite that wants to benefit from your mindset. You see, that's what it is. So you have to realize that this is why, of course, it is important for each group to take possession and ownership of their own history, because America ain't gonna do it for you. America never was a country; it was always a company. That's what you got to read. It was never a country. They came here to set up shop. This is a business. It's a bit. It always. What you think the slave trade was about? It's a business.
Ooh,
Right, right, right.
It's
yeah.
a business.
This is
Ownership.
this is uncut.
Ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I said raw and uncut, baby. You just went all the way there. Woo. Okay.
I'm just saying, we're gonna tell it like it is.
Tell it like it is. That school system is creating employees. That's it.
That's
Teaching
it.
you how to go and work for someone else. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Go spend 40 years working this job. Yeah. Oh God.
They got you lined up, don't they? How the pension plans, what age you should retire at, and
401k.
401ks and all this other kind.
Mhm.
They got you. Well, they got you laced out. In the interim of things, you end up still with nothing.
Yep.
Look
Because
at more even.
before you go into a nursing home, if your family cannot take care of you, when you get to that nursing home, you have to liquidate all of your access.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Did I say it wrong? Assets.
Assets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You
Mhm.
have to turn it all over. You have to give it all up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you done worked hard for, you have to sell in order to go into that home to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. And look how this system still is in favor. Do you really own anything? Of course you
No.
don't. Anything that you get from your car to your house, whatever you think you done paid off, that stuff can be they can take that right away
Come
from
back
you.
and take it back.
Mm-hmm. Why? Because they got constant ways that you need to keep on registering and giving them fees, and if you fail to do that, then they will take the property. And nothing is
Even
ever
after
yours.
you, yes, even
Nothing
after
is
you
ever
have
yours.
bought the house,
That's
bought
it.
the land, you still gotta pay taxes on the land every year, property tax. So you don't really own anything,
You don't own anything. Because
nothing.
they can legally, according to their legal system, they can legally come in and take it all from you.
Yep. Well, you didn't pay your taxes for 2 years. We paid it, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
ours.
So
Yeah.
here in Inglewood, California, it's not too far from where I live. In fact, I was living in Inglewood when they built that brand new high tech stadium for the Chargers and the Rams. Right, it's a
Mm.
beautiful stadium. But when they start doing so, what they and that was right next to the Forum, which is where the um um with the Lakers. Who was the other team here? Why is it messing my head up? The Clippers. Sorry. Yeah. So LA has two football teams, has two basketball teams, has a soccer team, a hockey team, as well as a baseball team. So they're set up. So in Inglewood, they call Inglewood the City of Champions because that's where first the Lakers used to play out of there. Their home stadium was over there, but now the Clippers, their home stadium was inside the Forum. They're building them a new stadium over there. So now Inglewood is now resurrecting its status as the City of Champions. So as they were doing this, I remember going and looking for a spot maybe to open up a studio. I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity. As soon as the first word of that came out, the real estate went up by thousands of dollars. Just by the way, the stadium's not even built yet at this time. It went up by thousands of dollars. People start tearing down certain old buildings and making parking lots because they know they're going to make a lot of money off parking lots. And people who had homes over there who didn't even realize that they only bought the home but not the land. So then the city started taking it back by what they call eminent domain. So they start being forced out of their homes, given just a little bit of what it's worth, and then forced out of their homes over in that area because all this money. Because another thing, it's a big casino that's over there, Hollywood Park. It's a big old casino right by that in that same area. So we got the Forum, we got the stadium, and we got a big casino all in that same big old block. You see, all in that same big old block. And traffic is really nasty over there all the time, by the way. But
Mm.
but you got more stuff coming over there. So this is about economics. They don't care who head you chop off in the name of economics. They don't care about that. You see, it's at the end of the day, it's only about the dollar. That's what it's about. Anybody else, you can go.
Mm.
Just don't get in the way of that dollar.
Yeah.
You see?
Mm.
So I say this is a company. And as long as you, so in order for you really to fit in, you have to understand that racism is a lower level experience of this nation. But when it comes down to it, it's about classism. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
racism.
Mm.
It's about classism. And if you ain't in a certain economic class, then you don't matter anyway. Whether you white, black, Indian, it doesn't matter. But you gotta. So this is why you see the Jews hanging together, because they understand they can only have that class together. You see, to compete in that classism, that the class bracket, the all the Asians here. We got so many different. We got the Cantonese here. We have the Koreans here. We got the Chinese here. We got all, and each one of them in their community, they have a sign saying Koreatown and Chinatown, all that. There is no Africa town here though. There is no Africa town. You know why they were able to get their town and we can't? Even though we're big, we're thick in Leimert Park. Leimert Park over here is that's where all they, in fact, we call it among ourselves Africa town. But most of the real estate over there is owned by white folks. That's why it cannot be called Africa town. Because in Koreatown, the Koreans own the real estate and own the land. In Chinatown, the Chinese own the land and the real estate. You see?
Mm. Okay.
So we don't have a seat at the table because we haven't came together as a class of
Mm.
people. We're still operating as a race of people instead of a class of people. You understand? So we can only get in the way at this point because this is a big economic game,
Really
and
is.
you can't become a class of people on your own. That's why all of them they stick together. They know the system better than we do, and they know how to work it. And that's exactly what they're doing. But if they ever lose their class status, then they will fall down to races just like we are. So we playing a very low game talking about racism and things like that. Now step your game up, become a class. That's how you get a seat at the table. That's how you do it. Because believe it or not, there were some black folks that had slaves too. Okay, because of that was the class. They was part of the class at that time. I see your head over the smoking king. Go ahead, man. If you want to say something, go ahead, brother.
So very badly.
I'm gonna speak real briefly for entertainment purposes only. I also want to state I am, but I know nothing. One of the main things that's being said right now is the fact that even those that own slaves, they own businesses. They was
That's right. It,
businessmen.
it was always about business.
Mm.
Yeah, and if you take the
Hmm.
time out to understand entity to entity, you have to talk quote unquote in a business format. So
Mm.
just like Sabad Ahmed spoke on the fact that it's not about the house that you own, it's the land and also the earth that's above it. When you take time out to really do your research and purchase the land and you deem the land quote unquote from a business standpoint and also put it in your trust, the state can't just come in because see you also run into the fact that I don't even know why I'm saying this. You run into the fact that even if you own the land and you own, let's say you own a house, you put the house on top of it. If you are still property of the state yourself, hence your birth certificate, social security, the state can come in and deem you still a minor by saying that basically you're not a major, so therefore you're not of the majority or in the quote unquote business class, so they just feel that you don't know nothing, which hence you have to then get a lawyer to fight your battles. And again, if you don't have collective, a status, like Sabah Armin was alluding to, if you don't have that, they can come in and just take everything right from up under you
Yeah.
and deem it yours. Again, I don't know nothing. This stuff I heard. It's sad because at the end of the day, to have knowledge of self, just like we're saying, for us to teach our history or our story and push the right narrative, in order to do that, we do have to acknowledge knowledge of self. And by doing so, there is a lot of there's a lot of there's a lot of religions or ritualistic practice. I'm gonna say that there are a lot of ritualistic practice we have to do away with in order for us as a teacher to our youth and to our children to even see us as a certain status and not necessarily still a slave of a system, in order for them to understand what's being taught is a representation of me from a spiritual standpoint. This is very important because even if you consider yourself sending your child to school at an early age, like Head Start, there was a time that they still was teaching the American flag, the Constitution, the preamble, and to go from that to the point now we want to learn history, so you can understand American history. And like Sabadam said, the United States is a corporation, no matter what you say. It ain't even, what, a mile long? Is that correct,
Yeah.
Sabadam?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about like a mile, mile and a half long or whatever, but it's a corporation. Actually, it's a corporation that time is running out, just like with the IRS.
That's
Again,
right.
this is for entertainment purposes only. I do not know what I'm talking about. When you do these things and you sending your child off to school, you're entrusting the teacher to teach your child what you feel like you don't know, or what you feel like you don't have time to instill in your child before they even go to school. We trust in so many different systems. It's hard to point at one system as if it fixes everything if you're on top of it. So again, Sabadama alluded to resources. We're in the Aquarius age right now, where information is retarded to where you have access on any level to get your. If you have any type of cell phone, it's literally a computer. I don't care what nobody say, because if you go in your settings, it'll ask you if you want to stay mobile data or desktop. So there's no
Yeah.
reason why you can't find out whatever it is you want to find out. Another thing, just like in conversation, if you don't ask the proper question, you're not going to get the proper answer. So you can Google all day long, but if the format of the question isn't the right question, you won't get the right resource in which you're looking for the right answer or the correct answer or the answer to your question, per se. I'm not trying to jump all over the place. I'm just saying, in order to come together as a whole collectively and claim our status collectively, like you said, you do have a Chinatown. What's some of the, anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Koreatown
Yeah,
and
Koreatown. You have all these places because, like Sabadam said, they don't care about the building; they care about the land.
Mm.
And when you own the land, you can dictate or deem that private property, even from a business standpoint. You can allow people to come in and shop and take care of whatever their needs may be within your Chinatown, Koreatown, or whatever the case may be. But no one understand, because of this, that since they own the land, they can dictate what the police can and can't do in that land, because they are still they still are quote unquote peacemakers.
mm,
Mm.
mm-hmm,
And understand that they are peacemakers, and they are there to serve owners that own land.
mm-hmm. That's right.
That's. I mean, I'm just saying. Now, another thing I want to point out: most of us don't know this. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't think that the only constitution is the United States Constitution. Every individual state has a constitution. Take your time
Mhm.
out and look at your state constitution so you can understand what true ordinances are for you within your state. It could be some
Mm-hmm.
things that could be done incorrectly towards you, and you might even have a case. Again, this is just for entertainment purposes only. I do not know what I'm talking about. Furthermore, dealing with our children, if we don't take the time out to truly help them understand a mother's role in the home front, a father's role in the home front, and the purpose therein of them working together to develop a brighter future for the child or even to rear the child in the right direction and just know understand and help them understand that going to school is a secondary education.
It
Your
sure
home
is.
front is your primary.
That's right.
Your home front is your
Facts.
primary. Um, I'm just saying some things that I've learned over the past 5 years that it's important to look at life like that. You can teach a child the way it should go and they shouldn't astray, but because we have so many distractions, it take nothing but a second that you're not even paying attention because you're not teaching, you're not helping them understand your purpose in life, your status in life, your direction, how to come together as a collective, learning how to be sociable, how to build and network relationships outside of the home front. Understand that certain energies you shouldn't even allow in your circumference. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work,
Mm.
and you got to be willing to die to live.
Mm.
And that's very important. Most of us are alive but dead, walking around.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's a scary thing because we lifeless. We don't even understand that we're spirit first. I heard something. Not gonna say I heard something. I was in a conversation. This is a while back, and the lady didn't understand where I was coming from, but the man did. I simply said to the young lady or the queen to help her understand because she said, "Don't call me queen." Well, I say I call you queen because I'm trying to invoke the spirit in you first and foremost. I'm giving you status. I'm giving you a status up front, whether you have
Mm-hmm.
a king in your life or not. I'm trying to give you a status to help you understand the level I'm already on, in which I'm trying to engage in a conversation with you. Furthermore, as we was talking, what she say, I don't believe I am a queen, and that is a European. And I was like, oh, okay. So you using the word believe, and further in the conversation, I heard the word faith. Here-
Mm-hmm.
here's my thing here. You know what? Don't even take my word for this. If you look up the word faith and you look up hope, you look up belief.
Yeah.
You're saying that you're putting energy and you're putting life in something that is non-existent, only in your mind. Only in
Mm-hmm.
your mind. You're making it a reality. You're making it real.
Mhm.
Even from that standpoint, you're basically saying that you internalize the power to bring forth and give life or make something manifest. So at that point, it becomes real because it started mentally first. You gave it power in your mind first. It manifests in your mind first. And then
Mm-hmm.
you brought it to a reality. So am I out of pocket by just saying, well, I don't do belief, I don't do faith, and I don't do hope. I do what I know.
Yeah. Not out of pocket at all. Those are the three most dangerous epithets of modern religion. Is it's a belief system instead of a system of knowing, and it's a system of hope, meaning that you are depending on the actions of something outside of yourself to come and save you. And then faith is nothing more than blind trust of something that's not even proven that exists. You know. So yeah. So you talking about keeping you a slave? I'm just saying.
No, you're right. And I was trying to build up to that point that you just pointed out. And here's why. We have some strong women. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. We have some strong women in this world that run, that go to church.
Okay.
No disrespect to no religion, no faith, no belief system, none of that. But they run a church. And when they go to church, they give so much power in it versus their own home front. They give so much power into the pastor, the deacon. They give so much power into the actual throne that I ain't gonna say throne, the chair in which the pastor sit on versus their relationship at home,
Hmm.
versus their man, their king at home. And this is fact because my pastor said, not because my man said, not
That's right.
because my king said. I'm not trying to step on nobody's shoes. I'm just pointing out. Just think about what I'm saying. Now you know what's at home. You know what's going on in those four walls at home. You know your husband probably gets up and busts his butt to make sure that he
Bills are
provides.
paid,
Yeah,
and
he provides. He gives provision, and he does what's necessary to make sure that the home front is safe. These are also things that you're teaching your children to help them understand that that man at the home front, he don't have no status, but your pastor does. Just think about that. Again, I'm only speaking for entertainment purposes only.
Say it one
Just
more
think about that.
time.
Just
For
think
the
about that for a second. You would deem the pastor on a higher level and more of a priority than your own husband at home or the man that you call to be the leader. I'm just pointing something out. But yet we're teaching our children. I don't know. It's just something to think about. What are we really teaching our children? We're gonna teach them history. We got to teach them the fact that the home front is where everything starts. And even when it comes
hmm
down to talking about their story or anybody else's culture, it all stems from our ancestors. And our ancestors, unfortunately, for some of us that don't want to know it or want to like it or hear it, they were black.
there it is.
Period. The origin, wherever I don't care what part of the world you want to build in.
Yeah.
However you look at it, that story starts with blackness. That is our true excellence. Blackness is
That's right.
everywhere.
Hmm.
Everywhere. You can't escape it. It depends on how far you want to go back. I'm gonna say something I heard. Unfortunately, there is a certain race of people that only started 7,000 years ago.
Oh, you're giving them too much credit. It's 6,000.
Okay, it's six.
Let me
Again,
turn this up. Yeah.
entertainment purposes only. Like I said, I'm not trying to step on no toes or cause any controversy or upset nobody or trigger nobody. I'm just saying when you start doing the work, you realize you've been lied to for a very, very, very,
Very
very
long.
long time.
Very
Very
long.
long
Hmm.
time. But the more you become awake, the more you find yourself alone. Because even the things I'm saying, I'm not even loved in my family because of some of the stuff that come out my mouth. So, I mean, it's still respect and love. Everybody's going to enter into their own understanding when their understanding come about, and that's
There it
peace.
is.
So therefore, I do not, from afar, judge anybody in their choices, decisions, and executions. I only pay attention to what it is that I'm trying to learn and understand.
Alshay. And just like how every drop of water returns its way to the oceans,
Facts. Facts.
every mind will find its way back to the truth, no matter which direction, stream, pond, river, lake,
Facts.
whatever it takes, you will find your way there. All right.
Facts.
So but that's all up to you how much time you take. Keep an open mind. Let the trip be a little less turbulent by keeping
Mm.
an open mind, you know. Um and I want to say too before we close out that I want everybody to understand that what I really stand for is our divinity. I am truly an advocate for mankind as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to name the imbalances that has come about because nobody seems to be doing enough about them. And I'm going to point those things out that are keeping this disorder in place. I'm going to name the disorder It is what it is. But but if we got to call it, we got to call it by its name, then let's do that. But there's been some people has been out of line, and we got to call them out. But I still would say that they're still no less a part of that divine plan than we are, no less. All right.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
we still got to do right by the divine plan, and restore balance. That's what we are here to do. Restore balance. Period. All right. So that's all I got for today.
I just want to say in my closing real quick before the brother Scott Walker do his due diligence. Um, Please, if anything you take from God Level Podcast, things that people don't want to talk about, please understand these are things that people don't want to talk about. More important, these are things that Africans don't want to talk about. These are things that black people don't want to talk about. These are things as a culture that we don't want to talk about. And it's very important that we start having these conversations if we consider ourselves to be majors and adults. That's very important. I didn't say minors, I said majors and adults. I know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. It's it's
Yes.
it's it's it's, it's, it's beyond time. We need to have the uncomfortable conversation. We need to sit down, man and woman, iron out our differences, and come to an understanding. And no, you're not right. I'm not right. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. But if we get to this understanding by sharing the knowledge, if we get to this understanding that this is the only way we can properly move forward by actually coming together, if we can get that together in the home front, I promise you, a lot of
Yeah.
things have changed, and we can develop our own seat at the table. But the
Yeah.
table will be the seat. The table will be what we own. It won't be
Mm-hmm.
owned by nobody else. But we have
There
to.
it is.
I mean, I want to go in depth in that, but I'm gonna stop right there because I peace to everybody that's watching and has comment. Amina, it's
Indeed.
always a blessing to see you chime in.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You always drop
Yes,
wisdom.
all the time.
And I really do appreciate it. Dre, love you, my brother. Keep doing your
Yeah.
due diligence to do that transformation because I promise you
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody that's watching you, my brother. There's somebody
That's
Yes.
right.
watching.
Yeah.
I love each
That's
and every
right.
one of y'all that's on this panel. And like Sabadama said, we didn't start out as slaves, so we have to repaint that whole picture. We did not
That's
start out
right.
as
That's
slaves
true. Yeah.
at
Mm-hmm.
all.
I say. Mm.
Oh, did you just
Peace.
Wakanda me?
No, look here again. This did start with
I was
Wakanda.
gonna say that didn't start with
This,
Wakanda.
this is actually how we salute each other at my spiritual center. This is the Osirian salute. Okay,
I'm sorry.
imagine in this hand a crook and flail,
Mm.
Yeah,
power and sovereignty.
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I
That
Okay,
feel that.
reminded me of a Bible
Brook
verse.
and flail.
yeah.
Okay.
That
Wakanda
I
got this from us. We didn't get this from Wakanda.
Mm.
yeah. That re-
Yep.
we'll talk about that later. Again, I'm just gonna piggyback off what my brother just said. I want to thank everyone for jumping in on tonight's live. Those who watch, those who comment, those who are sharing. Please do not be afraid to invite other people to the group. I want to thank all of our followers right now. We are over 500. We really appreciate it. And send those invites out and bring them on over. Let's build this tribe.
I say.
John,
In tribute to the blackness that King D King Newborn, oh my gosh. King Newborn was speaking on. Let's talk about the blackness. People who don't see color showing their true color. We're all human, but what hue is you? I'm 50 Langston Hughes darker than Hugh Jackman. But y'all got the nerve to paint me like I'm the mutant? I'm Luke Cage with this melanation. It's amazing. My black is more of a superpower than China is. Muscle, bone, and brain are warmed by a mahogany coat of solar panels. Who needs electric companies when I'm generating this black power, dopeness per hour by the kilo?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
We get charged with death penalties for our innocent existence. So we protest to legalize blackness. Hair is
Mm.
kinky, but it's not a fetish. Black woman says, you'll catch these hands if you ever touch this. No spare feelings, no cares given. There's no care in their world. Nah. Does a Tatiana, Brianna, Aura, Janisha, Tanisha say their names? Say their names. Y'all acting kind of shady for people who don't see color. The darker the melanin, the less intelligent, they used to claim. I'm dark like the neural melanin in your brain that protects you from Parkinson's disease. So all lives have black thoughts. Paranoid when they hear those black voices in their head, stealing their sleep and peace of mind as reparations for stealing our language, but couldn't steal our rhythm.
Mm. Mm.
And wouldn't you be sad if we made the blues black again? Our walk, our talk, our sex is smooth as jazz, and even that has an African genotype. Yeah, the flesh of rock and roll and disco was Michael Jackson's skin tone until he bleached it. It all goes to show that blackness is soul. It doesn't die. It reincarnates over many genres. It transcends physicality, its mentality plus spirituality, where you can speak proper English, think like a negus, feel like a nigga, but act like a god or a goddess. It's brilliant resilience, rich in spirit, impoverished living, fatherless, and still smarter than 90% of the class. It's surviving slavery, thriving like it didn't happen, but living like our ancestors never died. They are reborn as us today, not for vengeance, but for healing. It's laughing so hard you gotta run off and come back. It's Kool-Aid smiles with gangster grills. It's do-rags and head wraps. It's kicks instead of shoes. I'm trying to be like you, but I'm also doing me. It's Kwanzaa and Juneteenth. What's up with two Z's? You speak when you enter my house. But if I see you in the street, I'll greet you with a head nod from 20 feet away. Hey, you good? Means 7 different things and they're all understood. Everything is written over our black face so you can see what we're thinking. And it's not about what you say, but how you say it. It's Vodun, Santeria, Ifa, the Orishas. It's ancestor worship. Blackness is liberation. Black boy joy and black girl magic, killing linguistic semantics, giving good meaning to bad words. Blackness is the word, and the word is with God, so the God body is a black body, and mine is mirrored in God's imagination. Black since the Moors, black since the Nubians, black since the Cometians, black since the Semites, went from having a dream to staying woke. It's one drop of this blackness in your blood, and you're one of us, as long as you were raised by the village. See, you think you're not racist because you have biracial children, but so did the slave masters. Bless, love,
Peace.
and positivity.
Should be a bomb drop right there. Boom.
Man. Oh,
I say.
oh,
All right.
That's
That was
peace.
peace.
wow. Yes, it was.
That's peace. That's peace. I want to say,
Don't be hesitant. Go ahead.
I wasn't trying to offend anybody on their
Who's offended?
religious
Nobody.
beliefs and
Nobody is offended.
they church point of views and understanding. But just how we explain it right now, when you start doing the origin of everything, I mean, really deeply,
Yeah,
you you, you come back, you're gonna dig up spirituality. That's basically it.
that's it.
No matter what, you're gonna go to some type of spiritual system that basically originated in Africa. There's, I don't, no matter what the religion is, it's going to be built off of the origin in Africa, some way, somehow. What they call it, the mystical system.
The mythical the schools of the mythical schools and
Yeah, All
Yeah,
that's
mythology.
gonna,
So,
yeah, and it is
and I,
nothing more than, please understand this. It's nothing more than parables and allegory.
and not nothing
Parables,
literal.
not literal. Parable
Hmm.
and allegory.
Hmm.
It was
They,
storytelling time to help you
they will
truly
cut
understand that.
your
Hey,
throat. You know they
Yeah.
will cut your throat over that.
I'm only speaking from a entertainment purposes only.
That's right,
Do
I
the
used
work.
to
That's
ask,
John.
all I'm saying. At the end of the day, do the work.
yeah, I used to ask people, who were so heavily in church. I said, what was our spiritual practice before this was given to us as slaves? And no one could answer that.
Because they can't see beyond it.
I
Yeah.
said,
All it,
oh, okay, well, you go ahead and you keep that. I'm going
hmm
to go over here and look for something else.
because
I
Christianity didn't show up until the Coptic era in Egypt, ancient Egypt, and that was when the Romans
When they
had
took
it.
over, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
that was
saying.
way after the
Come
dynastic
on,
period.
man.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not trying to be passionate about it, but I'm just saying, family, tribe, culture. Please, I'm just saying, do the research. Don't
just, yeah,
necessarily look at the vessel.
yeah,
Trip off the message in the bottle. That's all I'm saying. Trip off the message. Research the message. Just do your. I mean, because I'm pretty sure you had your own questions that you was like, really can't.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
but the thing is like I always tell people though, I'm I just bring some facts, some things that I know. Like I say, I've done the work on this stuff, and I used to be a minister in the Christian church and things like that, so I know. I have today I have no problem with Jesus at all.
none.
He's not my Lord and Savior, but I have no problem with Jesus. In fact, I would work to defend only because that's somebody's deity, and I
True.
would never disrespect
True.
yeah.
Jesus.
Facts. Big
You
There you
know,
facts.
go.
Jesus has life because so many people believes in Jesus.
Mm.
Well, I would never disrespect Jesus or nothing like that. So wherever people are, I let them be where they are. I'm just
Yeah,
glad I am where I am.
yeah,
You know, I'm just, and that's it. But it doesn't mean that we all can't get, to that place of understanding and that place of peace.
Big
Doesn't
facts.
it? So none of that matters because at the end of the day, at the very foundation of it all, we're all trying to cultivate order, peace, love, and happiness. That's what it's about. In some way, enjoy this thing that we call life.
Life.
that's
Yeah.
it.
That's
It's a
what it.
journey
That's
for
what it
all of us
is.
to be together, to be one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, big shout out to all my if any of my family members, because I'm the only one in my family that's not Christian. So, you can wonder how that feels. But I love them. We don't have no quarrels.
Man, it's all peace and love at the end of the day. Like you say, it's
Yes.
not right or wrong. Whatever it is that you feel may empower you. I'm only saying from the standpoint, look inside yourself. Look inside yourself and see what journey you really have. It's a
I
beautiful
say.
one. It's a beautiful one.
right. Mm, mm, mm.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's
Purpose
exactly what
forms
it
together,
is,
paths
That's
together
it.
Amina.
to the one. Yeah,
Hmm.
all consciousness. Yeah, you,
Yeah,
you ain't.
that's exactly what it
You can't.
is.
You can't. She hit. Man, look. Hey, I want to say this. I'm done. I ain't gonna say nothing else after this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I ain't, I
yeah,
ain't, I ain't gonna say
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
else. I've
yeah.
been on this part for a long time.
He said that. He said that.
You said that 10 minutes
Go ahead.
ago.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
I did. This is it right here. I just want to point this out. Just like Sabadama said, my background is from Christian faith. Um,
Yeah,
what is it called? Non-denomination. Church of God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's called. Church of God. Non-denomination. When I came to the understanding of knowledge of self, I cried off and on for 4 months straight. 4 months straight. That, it's certain things that get programmed in your head off of belief. Have faith in this. Just trust this to be right and exact. And you be like, but no, this right here. No, no, no. Leave that alone. That's a sin. That's blasphemy. You going. I was like, well, hold on. It's right here. It's simple questions. I got kicked out of Sunday school several times for questions, just questions.
Yes.
I'm serious. I got kicked out of Sunday school a few times for asking a question, and one of the questions I asked, how did how did Jonah survive in the well with no air? I'm just saying. Then we talking about a well that don't come to the surface a lot at all, and
Well,
more importantly, a
hmm?
well when they dive, it's almost what like 10,000 feet.
They can go put down pretty deep.
Yeah,
Real
and
fast.
the human body is good up to what maybe before it implode seven
Mm.
hundred feet,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Maybe I'm just saying maybe.
And you got. I couldn't get past the beginning part.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, and that's because again,
The beginning when he said,
hmm,
"Come, let us." I said, "Well, who else is he talking to?"
right, and that's
He was
important.
talking to me. That's why.
That's an important thing to catch when they say Elohim. But anyway, I'm not here to break
Hey,
down
now,
people's.
now, now, if you want to talk about
Yeah, yeah.
Elohim, yeah, let's.
Right.
I can
I
go
Can
with
we
you
do
on
one
that.
on religion?
no, but that's the thing. Let
We're
people
doing
be
one
where
on
they are.
religion.
That's true. That's true, and it's not to
No, we
blaspheme,
should
but
we shouldn't
yeah,
do that.
we welcome love
We
from everybody.
yeah, yeah, we no, we
It's
shouldn't do
love.
that.
It's love.
Because right now we are only picking on one. When we say
Be,
religion,
That's
be
we're
true.
really
Oh,
only
yeah,
now
picking
there's the
on
one.
one.
behave,
We can
behave,
do
God
arm
level.
leg on head all
Who
day.
is
Yeah,
behave God level?
because
What
I
are you
see you.
doing
You
me?
want to
Did you just get behind
behave?
an 18 wheeler and run me over?
Dang,
No,
not an
I'm just.
18.
Yeah.
I would never
It
do
wasn't two.
that.
Boom. It's a God level.
It's
No,
love.
no,
It's
no.
love. But
So
yeah,
I'm
I
just
ain't
saying we
targeting
just.
nobody.
But one thing we have to understand is that, like we say, it's all paths, different paths. Eventually, we all arrive at the same. Just like how I was once, at a certain point, I have a new realization now, and so that I switch from a pond
Mhm.
to a stream to where I'm moving, where
Mm.
I feel like I'm moving, quicker back towards that total understanding. But all paths lead back to that total understanding. So that's why we should not do anything on religion. Let people be where they are. We're not here to recruit and to
Mhm.
change people. Because if you
Oh
snatch
no.
that from underneath people, you have to adequately put something in its place. And
Oh, yes, yes,
if you ain't
yes.
prepared to do that, then you got to leave it
Yep.
alone.
Yeah, that's a
It
Hmm.
has to be in its
responsibility.
place and
It's a
there's
Mm-hmm.
place
responsibility.
only. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
get you. I got you.
It's only for the
Mm-hmm.
mind that's prepared to move forward.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Hmm.
That's it. We are running at 152.
Ooh.
I want to thank everyone for jumping in on tonight's live. I want to thank you for brother in his last comments than the ones 10 minutes ago. Thank you so much. I want to thank I still want to call you Dr.
So
Doctor's fine.
Yeah, Doctor. Yeah, this
so
is
I,
Doctor. Doctor. No, now I can't.
I,
Now it's not flowing out.
Mm.
You know, I want to thank Diamond for all of our
oh,
shows this month. What is next week's show, which will conclude
so
our Black History?
yeah, so next week. Oh, wait a minute. I just had it up because it's a lot going on. So so I have to keep these things keep these things. I can't keep it all on my mind.
Okay.
Um, but the last one, hold on for a second. Um, come on, come on, where are you? Oh, great. Now I don't want to come up. Oh, here it goes. So the last one is the unrelenting path to freedom, the reclamation of Black culture.
Mm,
The unrelenting path to freedom, the reclamation of Black culture. Okay, so we're
freedom.
reclaiming. So it's not enough just to look at Black history without drawing something from it that informs us on how to move forward. So this last one will be about moving forward. Because remember, guess what we're doing right today? We are creating Black history.
Bars.
What do you want it to say?
Bars.
How do you want that narrative to read back? Well, guess what? Who are the players? You are the players today.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Part of
So
the
that's what this is.
solution been the problem.
That's it.
That's it.
God level
That's
going
what
on
that's
2
about.
years?
Sir,
Going on 2 years?
In September, right?
in September, it'll be 2 years.
Making history, ain't you?
Mm-hmm. Making
Time
history.
flies.
Yeah.
Damn.
So we're creating that. I say.
Peace, peace, peace.
I hate when he does. Stop talking to me. So what are we gonna do when we hit 2 years? We can go backstage with that one. John,
Get some manicures.
Yep. Later, y'all.
Peace and blessings.
Peace.